Get in, losers. We're going reading. Welcome back to Unsolicited Book Reviews. I look a little different, don't I? I know sun hat and sweater don't usually go together, but I live in Canada and it's the winter, so you're just going to have to deal with it. This is the first episode of a very exciting series called Reading Around the World. Now, I have a secret to share with you, a secret they don't want you to know about. Okay? Did you know that your library card is also a passport? You didn't hear it from me. All right? Now you may be saying, but Abby, what government is going to let me into their country, cross their border without a passport and just my library card? And to that, I have a very simple answer. No government. No government is going to let you do that. But that doesn't mean that we can't go places. All right? So gather round because we're about to do something fun. Wabam. So one of my goals of 2026 was to read books by more diverse authors. Now, why do I want to do that? Diversity is so important, okay? What did I say in my first video? Reading fosters empathy and understanding, okay? So one of my goals was to read more diverse authors. And part of that is reading more translated literature. Now, that is not to say that I do not love book talk recommendations. I have found many a book from Book Talk that I liked. Do you see this? I have Fourth Wing in 3 different editions. Okay? So trust me when I say Book Talk holds a special place in my heart. However, that is not to say that I can't diversify my literary palette. So I want to read more translated literature this year. And so I thought, how fun would it be if I brought you all along with me to read around the world? Now, ideally, I would be reading these books in the countries where the author is from. Now, unfortunately, my bank account does not allow for that to happen right now, but that's okay because thanks to the library, support your local library, these countries have come to my own home, okay? I can walk on Japanese soil from the comfort of my couch, sort of. So when thinking about the first couple countries I wanted to do for this series, I wanted to make sure that I picked countries and continents where I have not lived. So currently I live in North America and I am from Europe and have lived there. So those 2 continents are out of the running. However, I would, by the end of the year, like to have read at least 1 book by an author from every continent. Now, you may be thinking, Abby, what about Antarctica? Just let me live. I'm thinking about it, okay? I'm trying to figure it out. So Antarctica will probably be lost. I don't know whether I'll just read a book about Antarctica or someone who has been to Antarctica. I don't know. I don't know. Stay tuned for that one. So the first country that we will be traveling to in this series is Japan. So that ticks Asia off our list. So the first book in this series is going to be The Memory Police by Yoko Ogawa, translated by Stephen Snyder. I am going to read the synopsis for you so that you can get a little feel as to what this book is about. A haunting Orwellian novel about the terrors of state surveillance from the acclaimed author of The Housekeeper and the Professor. On an unnamed island off an unnamed coast, objects are disappearing. First hats, then ribbons, birds, roses, until things become much more serious. Most of the island's inhabitants are oblivious to these changes, while those few imbued with the power to recall the lost objects live in fear of the draconian memory police, who are committed to ensuring that what has disappeared remains forgotten. When a young woman who is struggling to maintain her career as a novelist discovers that her editor is in danger from the memory police, she concocts a plan to hide him beneath her floorboards. As fear and loss close in around them, they cling to her writing as the last way of preserving the past. A surreal, provocative fable about the power of memory and the trauma of loss, The Memory Police is a stunning new work for one of the most exciting contemporary authors writing in any language. Now, when I read Orwellian, I was immediately sold. But I do have a confession to share with you all. I have never read 1984 by George Orwell. But I still love the idea of a dystopian society, and I wanted to see how these themes are explored in other countries by other authors. So that is The Memory Police. I am already about halfway through this book. I started it not that long ago, and I have really enjoyed it so far. I love the concept of the disappearances. They are confusing me just a little bit, and it's only because I don't yet understand how the disappearances work. I'm not at the point where I think they sort of explain like how they're able to enforce these disappearances and why some people are able to remember while others can't. So that's one of the things that's been a little bit confusing for me. This is also my first translated literature from Japanese to English. So I'm hoping that after reading a couple, I'll be able to understand how the dialogue is translated, because I am finding the dialogue in this book a little bit disjointed and just like not how I would say something if I was speaking to a friend. But I know that some languages are really like, some languages are very difficult to translate into English. So I think it might just be something is like actually lost in translation in terms of the flow of conversation. Because I'm sure like in Japanese, this conversation sounds totally normal. But I just want to see how the conversations in other translated works from Japanese compare. So then I'll sort of understand more as to what I'm reading. I am really liking how they explain the act of the disappearances, like how things change in the air and how the main character experiences the disappearances and how the people on the unnamed island take part in the disappearances is really interesting. I'm really liking the dystopian nature of this book. And look at the cover. Are you kidding? I know, don't judge a book by its cover. I'm going to. Look at that cover. I love that. This is one of the things that honestly drew me to this book. So I'm very excited about this, and I have been really enjoying it. Really enjoying it. And I will continue to check in the more I read. But so far, really good. I will say, and I don't know if this is a me problem, but I don't know if we know the main character's name. Or maybe it's just me, and it could be a me problem. Oh, and one other thing that I will say is in the book, the main character is a novelist, and she's writing a novel in this book. And we get like excerpts of the novel in this book, and I will say, I want to read that whole novel. Like, I'm really intrigued by the concept of the novel that she's writing so far, and I want to read it. So I'm hoping I'll get more tidbits of it. But if I don't get like the conclusion to the story that she's writing in this book, I'm going to be really miffed. That's all I'm going to say. Now, I would just leave the video here and then come back when I've either finished this book or I have something else to say. Generally, my plan for the series was to have just one book per country. However, as with most of my plans, that has gone out the window simply because I was in the library today and I came across this book. Do I know anything about this book? No, I don't. Did I pick it solely because there is a pink hippopotamus on the cover? Yes, I did. Yes, I'm just a girl. So this is The Healing Hippo of Hinode Park, written by Michiko Aoyama, and it's translated by Takami Nada. And it's an international bestseller. It's the same author who wrote What You Were Looking For Is in the Library. I have never read that, but I've heard really good things about these sorts of books. Like, I've seen other people online talk about this author and the types of books that she writes. So I was really intrigued when I just saw it sitting there, and I was like, you're coming home with me temporarily. Give your books back to the library as well. Yeah, so I have no idea what this is about. And so we're going to learn together. Nestled at the bottom of a 5-story apartment block in the community of Advance Hill is the children's playground in Hinode Park, where you will find a special age-old hippo ride named Kabahiko. According to urban legend, if you touch the exact part of the hippo where you have an ailment or wound, you will see swift signs of recovery. Meet the neighbors who will each find their way to Kabahiko. Kanato desperately hopes to recover the stellar marks he once scored. Sawa, a new mother with no friends, wishes to be able to communicate as she once did when she was an award-winning retail assistant. Chiharu, a wedding planner, longs to listen better for the happiness of others. Yuya avoids sports day with a fake injury only to find he really is in pain. Kazuhiko, despite his fading eyes from too much editorial work, seeks to see life's everyday wonders. A powerful story of hope, friendship, and connection, Michiko Aoyama's beloved bestseller is a celebration of everyday encounters. Its subtle portrayal of the magic of community will lodge itself in every reader's heart as the eclectic characters find healing in their lives, though they may not always find it in the ways they expect. Oh my goodness. This sounds really heartwarming. Part of me really wants this hippo to come to life. Do you think that's going to happen? Anyway, so lucky for you, you get two for the price of one in this video. So I'm going to go and read these books and I'll check in on the memory police. I think both of these books are maybe like a nicely placed on the spectrum of fiction. So I'll get one that's dystopian, a little bit more serious, whereas this one I think will be like lighthearted but emotional. And I am really excited about both of them. Yeah, so I will check in. Hello. I am here with an update for you. I have officially finished The Memory Police by Yoko Agawa. I do not have the physical copy anymore because I had to give it back to the library so that someone else could enjoy it. Support your local library. Here are my final thoughts. What in the actual heck were the last 30 pages of that book? I was having a grand old time. I was just moseying my way through, having a time. And then the last 30 pages, I was like, what is going on? What is going on? I finished that book and I pulled that face where you're just like what? So things started disappearing that I did not expect to disappear. And I wouldn't have minded if I understood how things disappeared. There was never an explanation as to how things disappeared. And that was really frustrating to me. I think it was a missed opportunity. And it meant that I just sort of had no skin in the game, if you know what I mean. Like, how were the memory police doing this? Also, the ending, at first I didn't get it. I had no idea why the book ended the way that it did. And I was just sort of like, what on earth are you talking about? I gave myself a few days to digest. And I think I now understand the point of the book, but I can't tell you what the point of the book is because then it's like a massive spoiler and we'll give everything away. I think you'll get it if you sit down. Honestly, you're probably smarter than me, so you'll probably get it right away. But I originally was like, I don't think I understand this book. And I realized that if you don't understand the ending of a book, it just means that the book probably wasn't for you. And that's fine. Maybe this book wasn't for me. After thinking about it for a few days, I didn't get it, but I was just sort of like, there was a better way, I think, of getting that point across in a way that wasn't so confusing. Because I just didn't understand the motivation of the memory police. But maybe that's the point. Maybe the point is that it's futile and self-destructive. You know what? It's fine. Read it, figure it out. Maybe you have some insights and you can tell me. But I did figure out why everybody pretty much didn't have a name. That I felt smart. I felt smart for figuring that out. So that was great. That was a cool little tidbit, a cool little thing by the author to do. Appreciated that. So final rating, 3.75. It was fine. It was good. No complaints, but it wasn't the best thing I've ever read. I didn't finish that book going, oh, what a book. What a concept. I didn't do that. I was just sort of like, okay, and so a bit of a disappointment, but it was fine. It's definitely a book for someone. It just maybe wasn't a book for me. Moving on. So now I am halfway through The Healing Hippo of Node Park by Michiko Aoyama, and I'm having a fun old time. It's good. So this book is sort of split up into 4 sections and each one follows one character. So I've read the first 2, which are Kanato and Sawa, and I still have Yuya and Kazuhiko to go. So I can't tell you everything because I haven't finished the book yet. So here are my initial thoughts. The stories are written in a very moralistic, I don't know if that's the right word, but they're definitely written in a way where you're intended to get a moral out of it. And I'm not super into writing like that. It's definitely intended to be a heartwarming story that pulls on the heartstrings. You know what I mean? I just don't like my heartstrings being tugged like that, where it's intentionally trying to be profound. I feel like this book is intentionally trying to be profound instead of just being profound. And maybe that's a little harsh. It's fine. Yeah, I wouldn't say the stories are super deep. However, I will say that I do see the point of writing stories like this because I don't think I'm the intended audience for this. And there are definitely people out there who are in a season of life where reading stories like this would be really heartwarming and give you confidence or give you hope. I do see a value in these, but I just don't think it's for me. Like, I'm not necessarily a very emotional person. That is actually such a bold-faced lie. I cry a lot, but I don't like but I don't love when stories like intentionally try to teach me a lesson. Maybe I just have a problem with authority. Who's to say? Yeah, so those are my thoughts on the actual stories themselves. The title is great, very self-explanatory. It is about a healing hippo in Hinode Park. It's about a hippo statue. It's not like a real hippo. Could you imagine? But it's like a statue of a hippo who, when you touch it on a certain area of its body, it is said to heal what you are looking to have healed. So like if you touch its face and you wish to be beautiful, like it is supposed to have the power to make you beautiful, you know? It's fine. But here is my beef with the hippo. Okay? Tell me, what is the color of this hippo on this cover? It's pink, right? It's orange in the book. It's orange in the book. And I get that this is really not a big deal. It's not even a deal. But like I went into this expecting a pink hippo and I didn't get it. So I'm a little disappointed. The actual cover art itself, love, super cute. But I just wanted a pink hippo and I didn't get it. So I'm a little upset. But it's fine. So those are my initial thoughts. I'll check in when I'm done. But I'm having a whale of a time in Japan right now. I'm having a good old time. And I'll keep you posted. We interrupt your regularly scheduled programming to bring you an education moment. My name is Professor Abby. You're about to learn something, so buckle up. Today we're going to be talking about translated literature, Japanese translated literature, and cats. These are all connected, and you'll find out why. So the literary space has been translating works since time immemorial, since words have been written down on paper, papyrus, if you will. We have evidence of some of the first translated works going back to 2100 BCE. Even your grandmother doesn't have a can in her pantry as old as that. And these translations have helped shape the world that we know today. Religion, society, culture, politics are all shaped by translated works. You don't believe me? Let me tell you. You think Aristotle, Sun Tzu, the Bible, Machiavelli all wrote in English? No. They wrote in their own languages, and over time they've been translated to so many other languages, including English, which is the language that I speak. Did you know that the Italian Renaissance would not have happened if works in Arabic hadn't been translated from Arabic to Latin? So this is important. The world that we know today has been shaped by translated works. My point? What's my point? Professor Abby, what's the point? The point is that translated works are important. We have been using them for thousands of years to shape how we see the world. And that hasn't stopped, and that shouldn't stop. We should be learning from other people who don't speak the same language as us. So let's talk about Japanese translated literature. Japanese modern fiction has been translated on a larger scale since the 1950s. However, translated work in this time period were generally depicting stereotypes of Japanese culture, but why? So we have to remember that less than a decade prior, World War II ended. So the intent behind the perpetuation of these stereotypes was to remove the idea of Japan as an imperial power like it was before the war. Now, I'm not going to get too far into it in this educational moment, but I'll probably talk about it in another one. But the concept of Orientalism is very important here. You can look up Edward Said's Orientalism to learn more. And Orientalism is the idea of depicting Asian cultures through stereotypes that are definitely colonialist in nature. That plays a big part in stories of this time period, and we especially see it through the cover art of books from this period. As Japanese translations moved into the 1990s, we did begin to see this fade a little bit. Now, great news, Japanese translated literature is continuing to grow to this day, which means readership is going up. However, even today, we are seeing trends in what types of books and what types of stories are being translated from Japanese into English. As with most publishing houses, when they find something that works, they continue to sell it over and over and over again because they know that it sells and they know that it makes them money. So that means that we are seeing a lot of similarities in themes. These themes include comfort books, healing, heartwarming stories. Over half of the best-selling books translated from Japanese into English are some version of these themes. However, on top of themes, we are also seeing a lot of repeated motifs. The one I'm going to focus on today is cats. I told you cats were going to come into this. Have you ever noticed that on covers of Japanese translated literature, there's a lot of cats? There's a lot of cats mentioned in the title. There's a lot of cats just chilling on the cover of your book. There are a few reasons for that, but one of them is cultural significance. Japanese folklore is full of different types of cats. We have the Bakenko, which is a shape-shifting cat and a total menace to society. We have the Nekomata, whose tail splits into two and can do stuff with fire. And we have the Maneki Neko, which sits in store windows and brings good fortune and good luck. So that's a nice one. In literature, cats are generally a symbol of memory, loss, and comfort. Now, that isn't to say that cat books don't exist in Japan itself, but they are just overly represented in Japanese translated literature. In fact, cats have become such a symbol of Japanese translated literature that there could be a cat on the cover and the story could have nothing to do with a cat. So just be warned, cat on cover does not equal cat in story. Now, I am not here to say that comfort reads are not important. In fact, these types of stories are actually gateways into reading other types of translated work that explore other themes and other stories. So you know what? Embrace the cats. All power to the cats. This has been your education moment with Professor Abby. Now back to your regularly scheduled programming. You guys, I hate to say it, but our time in Japan has come to an end because I have just finished The Healing Hippo of Hinode Park. It was lovely. I don't really have any complaints per se. That's a lie. I always have complaints. But it was good. It was good. It was very different from The Memory Police. Also, in my last clip, I said that there were 4 stories in this book. That is a lie. There's 5. I forgot to mention Chiharu, and that story was lovely. The whole thing was lovely. It was very heartwarming. It did what it wanted to do. Although I will say that my overall impression of this book is that it's almost like a kid's book, but for adults. And I just don't think that's my vibe. I don't think I want something like heartwarming and fuzzy. That's just not who I am as a person. I'm more like a pufferfish. You know, like I look all cute, but I'm spiky. I want some spikes. There were no spikes in this. But yeah, lovely. I'm still mad that the hippo wasn't actually pink, but I think I'll get over it. You know how in my update about The Memory Police, I mentioned that I thought the dialogue in that book was a little disjointed and a little clunky, and that I wanted to see what other translations' dialogue was like. So after reading this one, the dialogue in this book had a lot more flow, and it sounded more how I would imagine people who knew each other spoke to one another. So I'm not really sure what was happening in The Memory Police. Maybe there's just something about the culture that I'm missing, which is totally fine. I don't claim to be an expert on any culture, even my own in a lot of cases. So this definitely had a better flow in terms of dialogue, but it was just very fluffy, and I'm not really into fluff. My final rating for this book, I think, is going to be 3.5. It was fine. It wasn't incredible, and it just sort of was a little lackluster to me. Nothing really like hit me in the gut or really convicted me or made me think. It was just 5 heartwarming stories about people, which is great. Definitely serves a purpose, and it's definitely for someone. It just wasn't for me. So overall, I do recommend this book for people who are looking for more of a heartwarming, lighthearted read. Like, the writing in this book, it's a small book. The writing is big, the pages are small, margins are also big. Probably finish this in an afternoon if you really tried. But if you're looking for a heartwarming story that's just not really gonna take a lot of brain power and is just here to like make you feel good and go like, aw, then great, highly recommend. For The Memory Police, I would say if you've read 1984, give it a try. I've never read it, so I think I've maybe missed any of like the parallels that probably exist between the 2 books. So if you have read 1984, I highly recommend giving The Memory Police a try and just seeing seeing how that theme is explored in a different country, in a different setting, and a different culture. So with that, our time in Japan has come to an end. I had an absolute blast, and I look forward to coming back to you with another episode in this series really soon. Until next week, I hope your book is good, and I hope you continue to have unhinged opinions about them. Bye. And grab your book, because I'm here. I'm here. Okay, we're consulting the notes. Okay. Blup, 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 blup. Is this ruler too much? Oh, say hi. You are so not happy, are you? I love you.